Salam alaikum. Many blessings. Today I got myself a little bit of time, so I'll go ahead and do a video that you guys been asking about, emailing me, sending me messages, speaking about the books I've published in divination. Before we start, I at least want to get this out the way. I don't need you guys to hear me. I need you guys to listen. Please listen. In Palo or in Kisimalongo, Palo Monte, Palo Mayombe, there is no right or wrong divination system. All right, follow what your lineages have. Whatever your lineage has, see if you can get well defined within it. If by any chance you guys obtain these books, speak to your godparents. Please, please, please speak to your godparents. Do not disrespect your lineages or change your traditions. Uphold your traditions in the way you guys do your things. That's the beauty of Palo. It is not like Lao Charifa, where divination is a little bit more rigid with the specific tools that they use. And in Kisi Malongo, also known as Palo, right? You can use chamalongos, or also known as yamputos. Other people call them chamalongos, known as the incos or the cowrie shells or tiger eye shells. You can use bones, you can use the empaca. You might not even use that. All you need is a cup of water filled up to the brim with a candle. And that's more than enough. Some priests do it like that. Others don't even use any of that stuff. They just walk in there, listen to what the dead tells them, and they speak it. That's simple. Follow your lineages, right? It's very vast in Kisimalongo, the divination systems. Most lineages, they'll give you a system already for you to learn. If you choose to switch the tool or switch the system, speak to your godparents, right? Most of the time, this is more for the people who have Nkisis. Now, what I can say is this: that the better system that you have, the easier it's going to be to transmit ideas back and forth. The easier it is going to understand what's going on inside that room with that Nkisi, from the consultation all the way to after rituals and spiritual hygienes and medicine and everything. Everything. Doing treaties, what's being negotiated, what we call kinenga, or the effects of the ripple effects, everything. You're gonna know what's going on. At the end of the day, the better system that you have, and the more, let's say, the more stronger you are within the proficient that you are within that divination system. So for the books, right, we got Conversations with the Dead. This is, I think, one of the first book that I've ever published. Conversations with the Dead. And it's big because I used to do classes, and I still do from time to time when I get a little bit of time on my hands. I still do classes, and it's big, and people will write on it, right? They'll write on the margins, so they can be able to keep notes when I used to do classes. And I still do have classes, but from time to time, not as often as I used to, right? Because this divination is obviously very vast. And this is the first book. This is an introduction level, very basic level of divination. Nothing very within depth. You see that? Now we got the next one is Binary Codes of Nkisi Malongo. This is one of the newest publications that I've done. The fundamental concept, because I've always said in all practices, there's a concept. The fundamental concept within my divination system, within this lineage, and many that I've come across, is the Dikenga Diakongo, Yowa, Dendu and Sa, right? The Congo Cross, the Circle of Life, Musuni Kala Dokula Lumbemba, Conception, Birth, Maturity, and Change. And that's the fundamental concepts. All of these books have it. So whichever one you buy, you're still gonna see the fundamental concept no matter what. But if you want to at least get yourself somewhat familiarized with this concept, I highly recommend you to obtain Kimbondende Kyabonseki Fukiao, African Cosmology by the Bantu Congo, or any book that has to do with that concept. All the Kimbondende books are amazing, so I will buy them all. And it's somewhat different than the Afro-Cuban concept of the Dikenga, but that's a different conversation there. But very similar, they're very similar. So this one has, you know, the binary codes, and it explains different formats, like polarity, like a magnet, you know, gender, all of these things. The most important thing, the time chart, seasons, months, weeks, and even the day and the hour, obviously, is the Dikenga. So you'll be able to pinpoint time. Is in here. So I've given classes about that. And they put it to practice. See how well you can pinpoint things. And then it breaks down each binary code, like through stage, format, and the actual binary code. And it has, you know, description of name, the stage, all of these things are here. Other books have these binary codes with these same names, but they don't have the description of the name. In this book, Binary Codes of Nkisi Malongo, the description of the name is there. What does Motali mean? What does Kolamuka mean? What does Kongenga mean? An illuminating rope that binds all things together. All these names and all this stuff. Then, that's the most favorite one, obviously, that many priests use, and I do a lot of classes on this one for sure, is the Scrolls of Time. Right, this is now a different level, right? Conversations with the Dead, very fundamental, very basic. This one's a little bit up there. A lot of information, simple, but a lot of information, a lot of memory. And then you have the Scrolls of Time, and this one for sure a lot of priests uses it. They use this book because it's for the practice. Right, and it lets you know the groups that they have. Like in Kufwa, you have one binary code. Madua has one binary code. Budalele has 6, and Sansa has 4, and Kisalu has 4. Right, and all the binary codes that you have there, and the information of them. This is more for like practicing. All 3 of these books are for divination, and I've offered it for the community, for the ones that are willing and are in the need for guidance in that aspect. Once again, due to the fact that divination is involved in all affairs and in Nkisi Malongo, we don't do anything, at least within our lineage, without divining. It's not just, I thought of it, I do it. No, you have to divine, you have to triple check and make sure that you know exactly what's going on. So, within other lineages, they have their own systems. I've studied a little bit of the other lineages and the way that they do their divination, the way that they do their consultations, the way they run their rituals with 7 cowrie shells, with different formats that they have. With 3, with this, with different formats, different ways of seeing things, or tiger eye shells. And is the Nkisi has in Fumbenda is no matter what's gonna work. As long as the language, you understand the language. If you don't understand the language and how to decodify it, you're not going to understand what's going on. But only thing I can say that the better system that you have of divination or of interacting, right? It's a language. The easier it's going to be to transmit ideas back and forth, back and forth. So when you cast, because I remember when I first started, I used to cast, I don't know what it's telling me. I just know it's saying 2 up, 2 down. Yeah, that's all I know is yes. Outside of that, I don't know anything else. And there's different formats, right? You have the question techniques and scenes to how it interacts around the room. Obviously, Dikenga Bisinsu, which are the binary codes of the Dikenga. Then you have polarity, gender, Ginenga, scrolls of time, opposites, converses, sequences. There's a bunch of things that are involved within divination, direction, time. All of this stuff is within 4 pieces, right? Some people, you'll see that they'll use coconut shells. Others will use 4 clam shells. Others will use 4 cowrie or tiger eye shells, right? None of this stuff is activated. I do classes, so I have them here. So at the end of the day, it's still the same concept, just a different tool. Others don't even have that system like that. They might have 7 and they use it differently for it to mean things. And then I've also come across a few priests that use bones. They use like 30-something bones, different little bones, and boom. But they throw it on the Dikenga. Same concept, just a different way of interpreting or seeing it. And it works also that way too. I know priests that just use the empaka with a candle. They look into it, a plate, different ways of divining. There's no right or wrong. But once again, the better divination system you have, the easier it's gonna be to transmit ideas back and forth and understand what's going on in that room, specifically with your Nkishi. I also have these other 2 books, which is Through the Eyes of a Spirit, Through the Eyes of a Priest. Right? This is Through the Eyes of a Spirit. It gives the perspective of how things are functioning through the eye of a spirit, through the Mfumbas and the spirit's eyes. This one gives the perspective of a priest, right? The rituals and why do we have to do it? Why do we do the ritual? And then, obviously, why do the spirit needs a ritual to do things? All of these things and what's a ritual and all of that. These are just more for the beginner guys, short but very powerful. They carry a lot of heavy topics in here. Specifically, right, with the Nkisi, or la prenda, fundamento, la enganga, how they call it. It has 3 names. It has the fundamental name, like many of us say, Centella, Sarabanda, Coayende. Then that Nkisi has a personalized name that is only within this lineage, only the members of that house know that name. And that's the second name. And then the third name is the Mfumba's name, which not a lot of people will know. Only the Godfather and who built it for him sometimes, and maybe 1 or 2 members of that house. Maybe. Sometimes it's just the Godfather and that Nkisi that knows those names. Because it's very intimate, very sacred. And you know, I like to say that this is just ancestor worship a little bit on steroids, a little bit more materialized. So these are the books that I have. I know I had like 6 messages that they were telling me about the books and this, where they can get them. And all these books, you can get them on Amazon. All right, just put Tata Matama and they should all be there at the end of the day. For more concepts, most of my books are practice. The concepts are Kimode Nakiabun Seki Fukiao. If you want to know about the culture and all of that stuff, obviously, they're more in Spanish. Like Rafael Pizarro, tremendous anthropologist, right? Amazing anthropologist. We've written about this beautiful tradition. And you have other books, right, that you can find on Palo that speak about the culture and the way of life. For you guys to get orientated. Lida Cabrera, Natalia Bolivar, all these other great anthropologists who written about this culture and this spirituality at the end of the day. Now, I want to go ahead and also say this. It is, I want to applaud to all the priests that I've met that are masters and even grandmasters within their divination systems, that they have burnt their eyelashes studying their systems and putting in the time with their Nkisis to build this system. Any system they have within Palo. It is not easy. So I want to give a shout out to you guys. And also, Tula Ocha and Ifa. Although Baoriate, que Caracol no es fácil. You didn't know how they say the cowrie shell or the dilogun. It is not easy to memorize and understand what you're fully doing with those shells. And anybody who has mastered that and is quite proficient, and not just master, they're a grandmaster, have quite a lot of experience, that takes a lot of dedication. And Ifa, the same thing. That's a whole lot of patakis, a whole lot of things that go on to these oduns, right? Within La Ochar Ifa. So shout out to them, that they're true masters of their divination systems. And I understand that it's not easy. It is not easy at all, at the end of the day. For the people who have obtained my books, I've always said, many of you have contacted me. For the ones who haven't, have any questions, please send me an email. I'm very open. I speak. I like to orientate for people, right? So they're not lost in the sauce. They're not lost in the sauce at the end of the day. So if you obtain these books, go ahead and reach out if you have any questions. Most of the time, they're gonna hit me up for this. Matamba, what's going on with this? How you do this? How you orientate? I will speak to you guys about it, give you some guidance on it. At the end of the day, the classes that I do give, they're more closed off for certain priests and stuff like that. At the end of the day, the community that we have, that we're a little bit more close knitted, like-minded people and stuff like that. That we, no disrespect or any of that stuff. They're more for unity. Different lineages though, but more for unity. And I learn from those priests. They learn from me, and a lot of networking basically. So feel free, to reach out. Any questions or anything. If you don't know what's going on in a room when you're doing medicine, any medicine that you do, you must know what's being negotiated. That's why the shells are there for, or any system that you have, to verify and understand what is being negotiated. For example, whether if you should send out the infumbe with, let's say gunpowder, to use, there's different types of gunpowder. So which gunpowder to use? Should you use gunpowder, or should you use alcohol? Or should you use other ways to send them out para balancearse, or to, let's say, take on the work, affect the work? How you gonna know that? You just don't know it. You have to ask, because medicine cannot be either too strong, neither too weak. It must be precise. It can't be too strong. That's not a good priest. It can't be too weak. That's not a good priest. It must be precise. It can't be too fast, and it can't be too slow. It has to be when it was supposed to hit. All of this stuff is within the divination system, and understanding the agreements and the stuff that's going on inside that room, for the rituals, for everything, for initiations, for everything. And obviously weekly consultations that the priest does for himself, and medicine for himself. So, divination is very vast. At the end of the day, it is quite of a skill to truly master. I'll go ahead and let you guys know to like, share, subscribe. Any questions, once again, leave it in the comments. Send me an email, tatamatamba88@gmail.com. And I'll leave you guys with the Singa de Gana Ninga Katu Bukako. Always uphold our tradition by making the right decisions for our tradition. Salam alaikum, alaikum salam. Thank you guys for your time.